What is going on, guys? Mikey P Games here, and it is week 5 now. Time for another D&M show podcast. This is going to be the second time Dom has not been able to make it, so I will be riding solo for the second time now. We'll go over mine and Dom's results from last week. I'll do a little review of what bothered me or something that caught my eye during week 4, and then we'll jump into the previews for week 5. Let's get into it. Looking back at the week 4 results, me and Dom stayed somewhat close, but I was able to keep my lead over him. He went 8-7, moving his overall total to 34-29, and I went 9-6, moving mine to 36-27. So I now have a 2-win lead on him compared to the 1 lead game I had last week. Keeping it close, we both clearly suck at this, so I guess it's now just for bragging rights on who's the better of the shittiest. But let's do a quick week 4 review, and we'll get into the week 5 predictions. When you think of week 4, what's the big headlines that's going to stick with you? Could be really anything. It could be something that stuck out with your team. It could be something that you saw on a primetime game. And as a Giants fan, this is what's really going to stick out to me. And I'm sure anyone who knows I'm a Giants fan knows this is going to stick out to me because I'm tired of everyone fucking talking about it. It's the Odell Beckham situation. Since this guy's entered the league, fans all across the NFL has shown their hate for this guy. And that's never bothered me. When he had his feud with Norman last year, I stood behind him even when fans gave him the cold shoulder. Throughout the first 3 weeks of the season, he didn't have any unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. People were legitimately getting mad because he hit himself with a kicking net on the sideline. Are you fucking kidding me? You have nothing better than do than get mad at an NFL superstar for hitting himself with a kicking net on the sideline. In the week 4 game, he had every reason to argue. He got hit out of bounds and started jawing back and got a penalty. Jawing's part of the game. Players are getting in each other's faces every play. It's not anything that's new. So why did the penalty get thrown on Beckham? On the very next play, he got hit out of bounds again late, but there was no flag on the opposition. Refs need to let the guy play and stop judging him for what he's done and what he's doing on the sideline. Receivers every week with a name opposite of Odell Beckham get away with shit that's so much worse. The man is solely dedicated to winning. I'd be frustrated too if I wasn't getting the ball when I'm wide open downfield and the ball was going to a running back or a tight end on a 3-yard checkdown route. Whether you love or hate the guy, we all know he can produce and that he has talent to be an elite receiver in this league. And with 2 other receivers who can do more than hold their own, it's saddening. He wants to win and he wants to be treated like other receivers are. And Odell isn't the only one that gets treated this way. I mean, you get Antonio Brown who gets flagged for stupid shit sometimes. You get other players. Like, as an Odell Beckham fan, I hate Josh Norman for the sole fact that he's getting in fights with my favorite receiver. But even Josh Norman gets flagged for some stupid shit sometimes. I'm not going to disagree with that. Refs are playing too much into what people do, have done, and what they do on the sidelines in Odell's case, and judging them off of that instead of what they should be actually judging them for what's going on the field. The saddest part of all of this to me is that there's Giants fans throwing this guy to the curb and saying it's time to move on like we did when we had Jeremy Shockey. Those aren't real fans in my eyes. These guys are too quick to judge after a loss in a game that we weren't supposed to win in the first place. We're talking about a guy who came in as a rookie where a lot of people didn't have high hopes for him, myself included. And after he put on his rookie showcase, before the catch, there was Giants fans praising this kid. And now for what he's done on the sidelines, and the media hyping what he does up on the sidelines, everyone wants to throw him out. That just doesn't make sense to me. As a fan, I want to see the fire and the passion in a guy who wants to win and wants to give it his all every play, and when he's not being treated equally to other player standards, he gets mad. I'm 20. I'll put myself in his shoes. Yes, I can't say exactly how I would act until I was in that position, but I'm 20. I'm young. I'm making whatever he's making on his rookie contract. The biggest receiver, I shouldn't say biggest. I am one of the biggest receivers in the NFL right now. I am in the biggest market for football, and everyone's coming at me. We had the chance to be blowing out teams, and my quarterback's throwing it 3 or 4 yards downfield on the check down route to running backs and tight ends, when we have 3 receivers who are doing more than enough to open things up in a passing game. There's times where Odell's not even looked at. He's burned corners. He burned Norman 2 or 3 times in the game, and he was wide open downfield. And Eli never looked his way. I understand where Beckham's coming from. I understand why he's mad. I don't understand why Giants fans want to kick him to the curb. And I'll end it with this. It's the media's job to rile things up. I get that. They're going to make up stories that aren't exactly true. They're going to take players' words and twist them to get a good headline. Yeah, they show what Odell's doing on the sidelines during the games and even little things he's doing on the field when he's upset that they didn't convert the third down because the ball didn't even get thrown 3 yards past the line of scrimmage. But what about what he's doing on the sidelines during pregame? This guy shook every military member's hand as they walked off the sideline. Did the media show anyone that? No, they didn't. Because the media wants to take Odell and make him look like the bad guy, look like he's being more of an issue than he really is. I'm just going to leave it there. Alright, so getting into the picks, I'm going to announce who Dom wants at the beginning of it, and then by the end of my little rant, you guys will know who I want to win. So here we go. Thursday Night Football, Arizona at San Francisco. Dom has Arizona winning, and Arizona was my way too early NFC pick for the Super Bowl contender. Coming off a great season, they made it all the way to the NFC Championship game and got blown out. Really thought they were going to have a good season again. They were going to be the NFC representative in the Super Bowl. But instead, they started off 1-3, and a loss in this game against a division rival is going to put them in 4th place in the NFC West. They're going to have to do that without quarterback Carson Palmer, which he hasn't really been doing all that great anyway. But I don't see how on a short week, Drew Stanton can come in and lead this team to victory. While the 49ers aren't that great of a team either, at least they're staying competitive against their rivals. Rivals, opponents, whatever you want to call them. Last week, they came up just short of a comeback against the Cowboys, losing by a touchdown. Yeah, I have little faith in both teams. And Blaine Gabbert is absolutely not the solution to quarterback in any situation. But I think he's going to be able to put his team in a position to win the game Thursday night. I picked the 49ers. So the next game on the schedule is Washington at Baltimore. Dom has Baltimore winning, and I'm going to have to agree with him. The Washingtons haven't really showed anything that makes me excited about them. Not that I would really get excited, though, in the first place. Their best game of the season came against a winless Redskins team. And while they have their 2 wins, I really think Week 3 was handed to them. The Ravens, however, were 1 point away from staying undefeated last week, and their defense has consistently dominated their games. They excel against both the pass and run, while the offense has been conservative in some ways. We've seen a few exciting plays from that offense in the early stages of the season. And that's why I'm going to have to go with the Ravens. They seem more like a complete confident team, while Washington's riding a lucky 2-game streak. Next up, we got probably one of the most anticipated games for New England fans this year. New England at Cleveland. Yeah, I said most anticipated. It's not the matchup. It's about the Golden Boy himself returning. Tom Brady is finally going to be back in the Week 5 matchup against the Cleveland Browns. While they had a horrible showing against the Bills last week, I'd be surprised if they struggled that much against the Browns with Tom Brady back. But don't get me wrong, I want to see the Browns win. They have showed that they have ability to put up points and compete. The issues is that they can't make plays when they need to, and they can't rely on the play of Pryor and Crowell. Because that's not going to be enough at this point. I think this is a game that's going to be over before it even starts. But I don't think it would truly be over till the latest actually, of the third quarter. Alright, next up we got Philly at Detroit. And any Giants fans that are listening, I apologize for what you're about to hear out of my mouth. As a Giants fan, you gotta understand it makes me really hard to say this. But there is really nothing showing me that I should pick against the Philadelphia Eagles at this point. They're coming off their early bye, which was well earned after what they did to Pittsburgh in Week 3. They completely dominated them, which has them sitting pretty at 3-0, with a big thanks to the play of rookie quarterback Carson Wentz. Now we look at the Lions, and they're really fighting for their season this week. They're 1-3, on the verge of going 1-4. With little success, the odds are in their favor. So truly, it's going to come down to this. Unless the Philadelphia Eagles forgot how to play football while they were on their week break, I don't see how they're going to lose this game. That's why me and Dom both have the Philadelphia Eagles winning this game. Alright, next up we got the 1-3 Bears visiting the 1-3 Colts. And while I really didn't expect it from the Colts, both of these teams have been really disappointing this season. Despite a healthy Andrew Luck, they've just been a mess. Their only win this season comes against a team that is getting known for blowing late game leads. And they just dropped a London game against the winless Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't see it getting too much better from here, but I do think they get a win against the Bears. The Bears haven't really done anything else to excite me. While they do have the ability to have a quality run game and a better defense than the Colts, I think Andrew Luck finally gets things going and puts the team on his back to get the win this week against Chicago and maybe turn their season around. Alright, so for this game, Dom has Tennessee. And at this moment, I'm just trying to figure out which team I like less. Because, like the Chicago Colts game, both of these teams have been pretty unimpressive this season. Which makes deciding a winner of this game extremely difficult. But I have to come up with something, so I'm going to have to go with home field advantage as the deciding factor in this game, really. Both, I don't even know what I think of this game, to tell you the truth. I think Tennessee has the more explosive offense thanks to the duo of DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry. But I just feel like at some point, when Tannehill's throwing that much, you have to win, right? I don't know, I guess we'll see. Like I said, home field advantage is going to be the deciding factor for me. Even though I don't think the fans of Miami are going that crazy for their Dolphins team right now, but Dolphins are going to get the win for me. Next up, we got the 3-1 Texans visiting the 4-0 Vikings. And let's be honest here, Texans haven't really been a pretty 3-1. They got blown out in prime time against a third-string quarterback. And the Vikings have been one of the NFL's biggest surprises. Really only, I feel like this team had high expectations coming in, but after the loss of AP, Teddy Bridgewater, Khalil, is that his name? Khalil? Callie? Something like that. Their offensive linemen. Expectations started to lower, but this team rise to the occasion, and they're 4-0 to start. It's really hard to pick against this team. That's why me and Dom are both picking the Vikings to win this game. The only reason I really didn't pick against them last week is because I'm a Giants fan, and I'll never go against my team. But the Minnesota's offense is surprisingly doing well. They're not putting up huge numbers, but without AP, without Teddy Bridgewater, they're getting the job done. The defense is what's really making teams dread going up against the Vikings. They get sacks, they create turnovers, they find a way to keep opponents out of the end zone. Mike Zimmer has really done a spectacular job with that defense. If you really look at it this way, Minnesota held Aaron Rodgers and Cam Newton to 14 points or less. Then you look at the Texans, really, and it's Brock Osweiler has more interceptions than touchdowns, and the running game hasn't yet to find the end zone. Neither thing is really good going against a top 5 defense, so Vikings win. I don't really think it took that long for me or Don to figure out who's going to win the New York Jets-Pittsburgh Steelers game. Clearly, it's going to be the Steelers. It's not that hard to figure out that the holdout of Ryan Fitzpatrick probably should still be going on. Could be figuring out which one of their young quarterbacks is going to be the man to take over the position, or could have found someone else in free agency, even though there wasn't really any other big names out there. This Jets team just lacks the talent to go up against the talented Pittsburgh Steelers team, which is my AFC Super Bowl prediction. With Le'Veon Bell back in the fold, Ben having AB to throw to, I just really see this as a hard team to really find a way to beat, even to keep up with. Jets are going to make mistakes, and the Steelers are just going to take advantage of it. All right, next up we got the 3-1 Falcons at the 4-0 Denver Broncos, and this could very well be a good game. One of the best offenses so far this season going against the best defense. I can't even say best defense. Minnesota's the best defense right now, I think. But one of the best league defenses this year. But only time would tell. The Falcons' offense is great. Julio Jones had 300-plus yards. Matt Ryan had 500 yards passing or something like that. But they haven't faced a defense like Denver this week. So this is going to be a good test for the Atlanta Falcons offense to see what it's really made of. Not only do the Broncos hold the number 2 pass defense in the NFL, but a few stats to go along with it is they only allow 2 passing touchdowns. They've sacked opposing quarterbacks 17 times and pulled in 5 interceptions. The best team that Atlanta's seen so far is Carolina, in my opinion, and Carolina is nowhere close to the team they were last year. The biggest thing for the Broncos this week is going to be who's starting at quarterback. Trevor Siemian is possibly going to be out, which means Paxton Lynch would be the guy to start. And this is what I've been waiting for all year. I think Paxton Lynch is going to be a great start at quarterback for the Denver Broncos. I really think he should have been starting since week 1. But only time will tell. I think you all should tune into this game because my man Paxton Lynch is going to get work done. So next up we got Cincinnati at Dallas Cowboys, and this has the possibility to be another good matchup. Dom has Dallas, and I don't really know why, because I have Cincinnati, and let's get this straight. Dallas has been really surprising. Another sentence that really hurts me coming out of my mouth as a Giants fan. You got rookie sensation Dak Prescott doing very well, and you even got the actual first round selection by Dallas, Ezekiel Elliott, starting to get things going for himself. Those two are really helping this offense roll. But things are going to have to come to a stop a really aggressive stop, to tell you the truth, for Dak Prescott at some point. I mean, it happens to all quarterbacks. Not every quarterback can go in week in, week out, and perform at a high level. I mean, you even see games for Tom Brady and Peyton Manning when he was playing that you just can't perform at those high levels every given week throughout your career. So it's going to come to a halt at some point. I mean, look at Kirk Cousins. He had a great year last year. That's why he holding up for that contract, and it's not really helping him out so far this season. The best part of this game is probably going to be the Cincinnati's defense, in my opinion. The hardest part for Dallas this week is going to be going through Cincinnati's defense. I by no means think they are the best defense, but they are definitely far from the worst. I would say they're from middle pack to top 15. So really, they're middle to just outside top 10. They're pretty good at slowing down the run, and they've yet to allow a single touchdown on the ground. So, I mean, that just goes along with the run. So I think it's going to be a real test for passing-wise for Dak Prescott and the Cowboys this week. Offensively for the Bengals, Andy Dalton and A.J. Green always put on a show. I know I started A.J. Green last week. Thank you. They should move the ball well, and you got to look at that dual-head Jeremy Hill-Bernard combination that they have over there. Passing-wise and running-wise, it's a pretty deadly duo. Cincinnati gets the win this week for me. Alright, next up, we got Buffalo at Los Angeles, and we both have Los Angeles winning this game. They've come off to a surprising start, being 3-1, winning 3 of their first 4 games, clearly. Really, it's a surprise the way they've won, considering how poorly their offense is and their defense not playing that much better. And the Bills have only gotten their last 2 wins after firing their offensive coordinator, so Rex Ryan's job looks safe for the time being. But I don't think that's going to be enough for the Bills to get this win. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. As you've seen, a lot of Rams games have been very close. So I think it's going to come down to whatever defense can force the timely turnover will win this game. And I think that's going to be the Rams defense. Next up, we got San Diego at Oakland. And this is really the game of 2 different teams. Raiders are a team that usually need a fourth quarter comeback to become victorious in a game, and the Chargers face the exact opposite situation. Regardless of any of that, though, I believe the Raiders have more weapons, not because they're better, just because the Chargers are injury prone as fuck for some reason. Raiders still have Latavius Murray, Amari Cooper, and Michael Crabtree, a big part of that offense for Derek Carr. Chargers have their own playmakers, but they're kind of disappearing. Allen's gone. Woodhead's gone. You got Jason Verrett gone now. So a defense that was really looking good is kind of, or I shouldn't say a defense in whole, but a player on that defense that was really doing well is gone now for them. I think that opens up a lot for Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree to dominate this defense, and Oakland gets their first convincing win of the year. And as you know, Dom has San Diego, if I didn't say that already. Next up, it is Sunday Night Football, and the New York Giants are heading to Lambeau to take on the Green Bay Packers. And Dom has Green Bay, and like always, I will never stand away from my team. I had the New York Giants winning, but let's look at this game a little bit. Not really the thing you want to hear from a fan, but I think this team looks a little drained. While I am a big Odell supporter, if you were here for the beginning of the video, you do know that. You might have just skipped over because you don't want to fucking hear it. I don't really fucking blame you. I'm tired of hearing it as well. Anyway, back to this game. Odell couldn't keep his head cool. It looked like him and Eli threw in their towels before this game was even out of reach. And even when it looked like we were going to be able to come back, the defense threw it away for them again. So after 2 losses that are really draining, in my opinion, I don't know how the Giants are going to be able to respond to this. especially going into a game against a team fresh off their bye, sitting at 2-1. And you got to remember, even though they had a really bad game against Minnesota, talking about the Packers here, Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. He has guys like Jordy Nelson, Eddie Lacy, who I don't know who. Let's be real here. The Giants defense does have a pretty good run defense. Has that big defensive line there. So I don't know how Eddie Lacy's going to do, but depending on what secondary is out there for the Giants this weekend is going to depend on how Jordy Nelson and company does receiving wise. I do think it's Aaron Rodgers. He's going to find someone open if he's given the time. But if DRC, Eli Apple, and Janoris Jenkins are out there for the Giants, I expect a not as spectacular passing game for the Packers. I do have the Giants winning this game, even though I do think the odds lay in Green Bay's favor. To close it all up, we have Tampa Bay and Carolina on Monday night. Carolina being a team that many thought were going to go back to the Super Bowl and win it this year, and Tampa Bay is a team I had very high hopes for in giving Carolina competition for the first place title in the NFC South. But none of that really looks realistic here now. Both sitting at 1-3, so the winner of this game gets a little confidence boost. Cam Newton might not even play if I am correct. He went down last week. So even if Cam Newton is in there, the line needs to protect him. And even when they do, Cam Newton opens himself to hits, whether he's running or just trying to extend the play out of the pocket. So this one's tough. We both have Carolina. The Bucs are a disaster, really. They do have nice talent in Jameis Famous and Mike Evans. And they've kept most of their Panthers have kept most of their games close, while Tampa Bay has been blown out. And the only time Tampa Bay really looked impressive was Week 1. But now it looks like Jameis Winston's battling a sophomore slump with his 8 interceptions. I think both of these teams are competitive, but something's going to have to change for one of these teams to turn their season around. I think it's impossible for both of these teams to end up making any kind of playoff push. Only one will do it, and that's only if the Falcons kind of have a mid-season fall apart like they did last year. I believe Carolina, with Cam Newton in the game, gets back on track in Week 5. Panthers are going to win. I'll even say it with Derek Anderson starting. Dom also has the Panthers. That's going to wrap up this week's podcast. Hopefully Dom will be back next week to pick up Week 6 again. It does get a little lonely here doing it by yourself. Sorry for the longer podcast. It was very important to me to get in that little Odell ramble in the beginning of this. Thank you for sticking around if you did. Sorry for the lack of content lately between school and work and all the homework I have to do for these classes. I haven't had the most time to sit down and do this. That's why this video is even coming out late now. So thank you for your cooperation and patience with it. I promise to get back on track. I do have a special video coming out, hopefully the beginning of next week, depending on the schedule of who I want to film it with. So keep your eye out for that video. But if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on the podcast, the Madden videos that should regularly come out hopefully sometime soon after I get all these papers done and out of the way. The video I was just talking about with, that's kind of like a surprise kind of video, I guess. Not really. But any ideas, feedback, comments, suggestions, leave them down in the comments area. I will read them. And until next time, guys, peace!